Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, at May's general election, the Conservatives had their best results in Wales for more than 30 years, and the party will be under pressure to repeat that success at next year's election to the Welsh Assembly. But it's Labour that is still Wales's dominant party, getting the biggest share of the vote at parliamentary elections and controlling the Assembly in Cardiff. The Tories are hoping that an offer of lower income taxes in Wales, using powers that are set to be devolved from Westminster, could give them a boost. Here's George Osborne making the announcement in last month's autumn statement.
Now, for years, Wales has asked for a funding floor to protect public spending there, and now, within months of coming to office, this Conservative government is answering that call and providing that historic funding guarantee for Wales. I can announce today that we will introduce the new funding floor and set it for this Parliament at 115%. My right honourable friend, the Welsh Secretary, and I also confirmed that we will legislate so that the devolution of income tax can take place without a referendum.
George Osborne there. Well, we're joined now by the leader of the Welsh Conservatives, Andrew Davies. Welcome to the programme. You want to take 5 pence off the higher rate of income tax and 1p off the lower rate of tax in Wales. Now, that's estimated to cost £255 million in tax revenue, and the Welsh grant would be reduced accordingly. How would you pay for it?
Well, it's not about taking it off, because ultimately the tax base would grow. We want to be an attractive economy that brings entrepreneurs into Wales and staying in Wales. Now, 2 things we've identified so far that we wouldn't be doing what Labour are doing at the moment is free prescriptions in Wales. At the moment, 40% taxpayers pay for free prescriptions. That would be a saving of about £40 million back to the Welsh Government. Also, tuition fees. At the moment, Welsh students are subsidised to a tune of about £3,600, and they can take their grant and go anywhere within the United Kingdom, even though those courses are provided within Wales. Ultimately, that's a loss to the Welsh higher education system of £70 million. So there are areas that we can firm up to bring that money back into the Welsh Treasury, so it can be put back into taxpayers' pockets, so they can spend that money themselves in the Welsh economy, and importantly, attract entrepreneurs to Wales.
Right, but even for a high earner on £50,000, your changes would only reduce their tax bill by £400. Is that really going to be enough to persuade people to relocate to Wales, or this sort of great wave of inward investment that you've talked about?
I believe it could start the process of showing that Wales is open for business. It sends a really positive message that you have a Welsh Conservative government that believes the best people to spend their money are the people themselves, and ultimately we are more competitive than other parts of the United Kingdom. What we don't have in Wales at the moment are enough entrepreneurs developing a large private sector to create quality take-home pay.
Right, so you think that that would dramatically shift business investment in Wales to sort of justify your income tax changes. But how popular is this policy even amongst your own voters and supporters? Because the polling doesn't seem to show it's very popular. You know, the Welsh Political Barometer poll showed that support for income tax devolution is weakest amongst Conservative voters in Wales.
That's because there's a fear that what Labour and the other parties of the left would do with these powers, because they've all indicated that they would increase taxation in Wales, and therefore we generally would be opening up the political narrative for the first time, because at the moment the Assembly, and by extension the Assembly government, have no means to raise revenue whatsoever. So now at the Welsh Assembly elections, which is in 2016, the political debate, the political argument will move into game changer mode, because the politicians you'll be elected and the parties you'll be electing will be actually delving into your wallets, your purses for the first time,
right,
which is something hasn't happened for the first 16 years.
But you campaigned on improving public services, didn't you, in Wales? So. But how do you do that if you cut taxes?
Well, actually, if you cut tax, you become more competitive. You increase the tax base because you get more people earning more money. It depends which part of the political perspective you come from. If you come from the left, you believe that you should take more of people's incomes.
Of course.
If you come from the right, you should leave that with the people themselves to spend it.
Do you think that argument will convince voters in Wales that by cutting their income tax, you can still improve and enhance public services?
Well, if I was Welsh, I'd be very sceptical of this line of inquiry. I think it's of argument. I think it's very dangerous to get into a bidding war over income tax. When Mrs Thatcher left office, the basic rate of income tax, and that is the fairest way to raise public money, was 26p in the pound after 11 years of Mrs Thatcher. This gentleman is now talking about putting it down to 19 pence in the pound, as I understand. This is very dangerous. If you want to see a collapse of public services, this is the way to go about it.
Well, would it lead to a collapse in public services?
Well,
I mean, public services under Labour, rightly or wrongly, have been criticised endlessly, admittedly, by the Tory government, but they have been criticised endlessly, and there is quite a lot of evidence to support what the Conservatives have said, particularly on health.
I think under this government, if they continue down the road they've started down, and they might not, you can expect all non-statutory public services across the country to more or less collapse within the next 5 or 6 years. Non-statutory public services.
I think that's showing a complete lack, with a great respect, I think that's showing a complete lack of understanding of the devolution settlement and what's going on in Wales. Ultimately, the government in Wales, not just by political parties, but by independent think tanks, Nuffield, the PISA League tables on education standards. This is a Labour Party that's been in government for 16 years in Wales since 1999. And so whether you take independent analysis or you take political analysis, Labour have failed to deliver for Wales.
Except so they still keep being voted back in, of course,
on an increasingly smaller part of the vote.
But I mean, let's just go back to your income tax issue, because most income tax in Wales is actually paid by the earners in the lower tax band categories, aren't they? So you're going to give a bigger tax reduction to those on the higher incomes, because that's how it would work out on the basis of the figures you've given us. So they'll benefit from both the cut on the lower band and the higher band. So they benefit twice.
It's about the Treasury, the Welsh Treasury, being able to afford what we're putting forward. And if you look at the 40% tax rate, or the aspirational rate, as I call it, you're talking of a hit to the Welsh Treasury of about 12 to 15 million pounds for every penny you drop. If you're talking of the basic rate tax, you have to find between 150 and 170 million pounds. So we've costed what we can do, as well as investing in the public services and delivering a better public service estate, shall we say, in Wales, that gets the waiting list down. We're 1 in 7 people on a waiting list, that lifts education standards so that we get better standards across the board, and internationally we're recognised as being a beacon of excellence.
All right, Andrew Davies, thank you.
I've been getting